This is a Lockpicker 1969, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to this next episode of Interview with a Lockpicker. Today's guest is Ratyoke. Say hi, Ratyoke.
Hello, it's good to be here.
So, to kind of roll into this, which probably makes the most sense, what do you do for a living?
I'm a jeweler, so that means my job is making jewelry.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you got into that?
I took some art classes when I was in college, and one of the art classes I took was jewelry and metalsmithing back in 1996. And I really liked it, and I started taking more jewelry making classes. And a few years later, after college, I went to a jewelry trade school and learned to be a jeweler. And then I've been uh, doing jewelry work after that for not nonstop, but for most of the time since then.
Okay. So, when did you first get introduced to lockpicking and locksport and then eventually lockpick making?
In 2008, I don't know why, but something just, I heard something about lock picking and it looked like a cool skill to have. My friend's father is a locksmith, or he was, he's retired now. My friend knew how to pick locks, so I said, hey, I want to learn to pick locks too. So he and I went to his dad's shop one night and we just played around picking locks. I picked one, I got one open and I thought, yeah, this is cool. I want to uh, do this. I didn't know at that time that this was a hobby, that there was anyone else, doing this as a hobby.
Yep. Yep.
So I looked online, I found Lockpicking 101, the internet forum, and I found Southord and I ordered some picks. My plan had been to make picks, but I didn't know what the profiles were. I didn't realize that you could get templates online. I ordered some picks and I started making them probably within a couple weeks after getting my first set of picks.
Okay. So you mentioned when you were talking to me before about the jewelry making that you um, didn't want your jewelry customers to know about you making lockpicks. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, back when I started making picks in 2008. I posted them online in the Lockpicking 101 and Key Picking forums, and they became really popular pretty fast, and I was getting orders. And at that time, there was no, like, I mean, lockpicking isn't, a well-known hobby even now, but back then, there was no like lockpicking lawyer or anything. And pretty much anyone I told about it was like, "Oh, so who are your customers? Burglars?"
Yeah.
So I just kind of st- I didn't hide who I was on the forums. I didn't hide that I was Ratyoke. But with my jewelry customers, I never mentioned it because it just seemed like so many people. Their reaction was like, "That's like really sketchy." So I just kind of I didn't post about it on my website.
Hmm.
I didn't talk about it to my customers. So I just kind of tried to keep quiet about that part of my work.
Well, yeah, and it's you have some phenomenal picks. Very much appreciative of. Definitely a fan. Um, so, how are you currently involved in the lock sport community?
Mostly just making picks, and recently I started making locksport jewelry.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those. They're nice. So, would you say you're actively involved with the community, or is it just limited to what you're doing with the lockpicks?
I'm on and off with the lock picking, so maybe I'll be picking locks for a month, and then I won't do any for 3 months. So I don't really make a whole lot of progress with my lock picking
Yes.
because I just don't stick with it, uh,
Yeah,
you know, long enough to really make real progress.
I gotcha. Okay. So, you mentioned when we spoke about some work that you've done in museums and for books. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, back around the time I went to graduate school and the few years after that, I spent a lot of I put a lot of effort into getting my works published in books and in competitions, and I've gotten several into museums here in the U.S. So
Wow.
that was, I mean, it's something I'm proud of, but it's kind
Yeah,
of,
definitely.
it's not, it doesn't really help my career at all.
Yeah,
But I'm happy to have done it.
yeah, it's an accomplishment. Yep,
Yeah,
I would say so. So when you first got going in making picks, who or what were the biggest influences on you when you were first getting started?
I think the biggest influence, there was a guy, Lock Newbie 21 on Lockpicking 101. And I tried to look him up I went after our first talk, I went on to Lockpicking 101 and I was searching for him on there and I found a few posts, but all of his pictures have disappeared.
Uh oh.
So he had, I think like, I just remember he posted one pic. It was just, I think like back then most people just they would do like hacksaw blades and then the handle would be like uh, heat shrink tubing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was like the big thing everyone did back then. But he had a few curves, I remember, on his pics, and I kind of I wanted to find the picture because I was thinking, did I steal his designs or did I just was I just influenced? I don't remember, but yeah, I was. His pictures are all gone as far as I can tell,
Okay.
and so that was I think the only big lockpick making influence. Um, my other designs are mostly a lot of my stuff I started out with was basically the same kind of jewelry designs I was doing at the time. So I
Okay.
mean my jewelry work was my main
Yeah.
influence to my lockpick making.
Okay. Well, that worked out well for sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned when we spoke before about dream picks. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Dream picks you've wanted to make?
Right now I have a idea that I had the idea probably a year ago, but didn't have the facilities in Taiwan to do it. But there was a set with a stand that I've wanted to make for a while now. So well, it'll get made eventually when I get a bit more free time. But yeah, I have I, I don't I don't like describing my ideas because
Sure.
or showing my sketchbook designs because it looks stupid or it sounds stupid. The finished product will be good, but if
Yeah.
I describe it to you, it'll sound stupid.
Okay.
So
I can
you,
appreciate
you'll
that.
you'll see it on
Yep.
Instagram or wherever.
Okay. So, what kinds of profiles do people ask you to make in custom picks most often?
Short hook, definitely. Probably the next one would probably medium hook or Bogota, but short hook is definitely number one.
Okay. That kind of makes sense. So, for people who are looking to get into lockpick making, what would you tell them?
Well, now we've got I don't remember who all has done tutorials, but we've got a lot of at least several tutorials on YouTube now
Yeah, definitely.
on how to do it, and you can get download profiles from the internet. Um, but I think there's been people who've said to me something like, "Oh, I want to make pics like yours," or "I don't know how I can ever make pics like yours." And I mean, okay, I hope people will try. I hope people will
Yeah.
keep their standards up and try to do good work. But like, also keep in mind that I was a jeweler well, I've been working in metal for 12 years before I even made one pick.
Hmm.
So it wasn't like I was coming into this, as a beginner. I mean, the skills, it,
Yeah.
they're both small, uh, kind of things. It's not jewelry work, but it's, the same
Yeah.
scale.
I just think I think people mentally set the bar too high for themselves and then never bother to even get started.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
they don't.
tools was, what's that?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Tools is another thing because people are like, what do I need? So,
Yeah.
okay, I can think of a few important things, but then people ask me to do a tutorial, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I could, but I have thousands of dollars in equipment,
Hmm.
and it's all because of my jewelry work. I bought that stuff because I'm a professional jeweler.
Yep.
But if you just want to do this as a hobby, you're not going to go spend
No.
thousands of dollars on a piece of equipment.
Yeah. Well, most people won't.
Yeah.
So, um, you talked quite a bit about your world travels. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I got back from Taiwan at the end of July this year. I had been in Taiwan for 4 years teaching English. And before that, I was living in Korea for 5 years teaching English. Um, so I lived in Asia for 9 years total. I've also been to about 22 or 23 countries. And in between Korea and Taiwan, I traveled around the world for about 7 months
Hmm.
and went to 10 countries during
Wow.
that trip.
Wow.
So most of my travel has been in Asia.
So, where did you enjoy traveling the most?
Um, I think my favorites are Korea, Japan, and Taiwan.
Okay.
Um,
Why is
I
that?
like Thailand. Um, I I don't know. I studied Japanese in college for 4 years,
Oh, wow.
so that always made traveling there more interesting because I could, I can get around and I can talk to people and stuff.
Definitely.
And then Korea, I lived there for 5 years, so I have friends there and I speak the language also. So when I go to Korea now, it's mostly just meet with friends and do stuff with friends.
So,
Taiwan, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Um, Taiwan, I always liked. I'm at right now a little bit sick of their humid weather.
Hmm.
No plans to go back soon. I will go back eventually, but not soon.
So, was the 5 years you spent in Korea when you were doing your teaching thing?
Hmm.
Okay, what was that all about?
I was it. It was basically the same job in Korea and Taiwan. I was a English teacher in the public school system. So in Korea, I taught 2 years in high school, 2 years middle school, and 1 year of elementary. High school and middle school went pretty good. I enjoyed that, but I'm not good with young children, so elementary school was didn't go so well. And basically the same thing in Taiwan. I taught middle school, seventh grade for 4 years,
Hmm. Wow.
and at public school. They were both good experiences. When I went to Korea, I was burnt out being a jeweler, and I just like I want a break. I want to take a 1 year break. And I thought 1 year, maybe two if it's really good, but I didn't think it would. I didn't think it would be very, I wanted to try living abroad. I didn't think teaching would be very good for me, but it turned out to be fine, and I did not expect to ever be in Asia for 9 years. It's supposed to just be one or two.
Okay, well, okay. So, another question. What other pick makers? So, I mean, I'm sure see a lot of other people's work. What pick makers do you have a high respect for out there, and why?
Well, I've never actually handled another pick maker's pick. I've only seen pictures. Gullen Bursty is doing nice work, and Mr. Picker is also doing nice work. My my favorite pick, my favorite design I've seen is DMAC. He did he shows it in his pick making tutorial, a kind of mint blue uh, pick. It has some really nice curves.
Oh, yeah, that was
That's
beautiful.
that's my favorite pick I've seen from another pick maker.
Yeah, definitely. That was beautiful. Um, so what what is your name? What does it mean? I mean, how did you come up with the name?
It doesn't mean anything at all. And how did I come up with it? I couldn't even tell you. I don't remember. It was just some nonsense I made up for internet forums, like whenever 2008 or whatever, maybe 2007. I just made it up as a name on the internet, and I did a little bit of 2D artwork with it, and I didn't. It wasn't very good, and it just doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
And I stuck with it because everyone
It just
started to know my picks.
it just took.
Yeah, yeah, and so I mean I'm not going to change it now.
So, in making picks, what are your favorite materials to work with?
Uh, that changes. It changes often because if I'm doing the same thing over and over, then I want to break and I want to do something else. But
Sure.
I, ebony is always a favorite. I like ebony a lot. And
Me too. I haven't worked with it yet, but I love the look of it.
oh yeah, uh, yeah. I don't know, ebony, I guess.
Okay.
I would definitely not aluminum. I got so burnt out with that material back when I stopped before I went to Korea in 2010. I was just I don't want to work with this again. And even now, uh, 12 years later, I'm like I don't really still don't want to deal with it.
Okay. So, last question, before we wrap this up. What, how do you feel from your early starts in lockpick making that go back to, quite a while? Um, how do you see, as far as the community and lockpick making has changed since you got into it?
Oh, I think it's changed completely. Um, no, I'm not. My knowledge of it starts in 2008.
Hmm.
Before I don't know anything before that. I never really looked. I never searched online about it. But I, most people were doing. They were cutting out a shape, a pick shape out of either feeler gauge or
Yeah.
hacksaw blade, and that was pretty much it. Or maybe they would put a heat shrink tubing handle on it. I don't remember anyone doing handles like me back then. Now,
Hmm.
I don't, I'm not saying that there wasn't, but if there was, I never saw it or
But
I don't remember it.
also at that time, there really probably wasn't as much of a online presence for you to see a lot of other people doing it, I would think.
Yeah, we had key picking and lock picking 101 and then some YouTubers and I don't remember any other can't think of any other place I would have seen about lock picking or lock pick making back then.
Well, so current.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
oh, I was going to say, and now we've got so many places online to talk about
Oh yeah.
lock picking and lock pick making. We have the custom pick makers group on Facebook, which has I don't know, it's like 3,000 members last I
Yeah,
saw.
something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just totally different now than it was back then.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for this interview. It's been awesome talking to you, and in our lengthier conversation before this interview, I learned a lot about pick making, just the ideas and so forth from you, and I definitely appreciate that. Um, with all the pick makers I've been talking to, and especially you, it's really pushed me to get off my butt and get in the shop and start doing some work myself. So,
Yeah, it's a fun hobby to get into.
yeah. So, uh, so before we go, is there anything you'd like to say to our listeners before we sign off?
Yeah, not really.
Okay.
I'm pretty much done.
Okay, no problem. All right, so I wanna thank Ratyoke for this interview. It's been great. For my subscribers, thank you for subscribing. If you're not a current subscriber, please make sure to hit that subscribe button Definitely hit the notification and all so that you're made aware of new content, giveaways, and other material that we come out with. I want to thank everybody for listening. Take care.